National Reconnaissance Office, NRO, NSA, National Security Agency, and multi-service operation. I was the deputy director for that whole entity. I was the NSA station chief for the NSA contingent and component, and there was a small Air Force squadron that I, was the commander of as well. So that was the fourth time that I was a commander. So I guess I was doing it all right. So
they gave you another shot at it.
They gave me another shot. And then on to my last assignment in the Air Force, and that was back at Fort Meade, Maryland, the National Security Agency. Although this time I was not assigned to NSA, but rather was the senior Air Force officer at the National Security Agency, save our general, who was an Air Force general.
Okay.
And so I was the director of the AFCO, Air Force Cryptologic Office, about a 2,000 person organization. I think I had 3 or 4 subordinate squadrons that did the care and feeding of those folks. And that was from 97 to 99, and in 99, I reached 30 years. They said, Mr. Leech, thank you very much. You've done a fine job. Now you can retire, but let somebody else have some fun.
Oh.
So that was a quick thumbnail of those 30 years. As you do, if you live long enough, you'll get lots of awards and medals and things like that. The
Yeah.
Air Force is good at that. Defense Superior Service Medal, which was a DoD award, and Legion of Merit, got that a couple of times. 17 editions of the Meritorious Service Medal, 7 of them. Air Medal, as I mentioned, Joint Service Commendation Medal, Air Force Commendation Medal, and one that I particularly smiled about is the Army of Occupation Medal. Army of Occupation. World War II, Army of Occupation.
Oh.
You can imagine. It was because of Berlin.
Yeah.
When Berlin was still an occupied site, location, place, and we were the occupiers, the British, the French, the Americans, and the Russians, our allies. At the time, technically. That was an experience. And we would periodically, going back here, go to events with our Russian counterparts. They would come over once a year to the site of the American military liaison folks, and then we would go into East Germany to their location.
Oh, wow.
And we would have a party with the...
Vodka?
I suspect there was some, yes, with the Russians. And so, great experience.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, so
Multicultural.
to have been there at that time and to have been involved in those things was as much as, almost more than anyone could ask for.
No, it's taking my breath away.
Whether an intel officer or not, just to have been part of the world, in those days.
Yeah.
And my kids, my son and daughter, had experiences that none of their cousins had. The cousins who remained here in the Seattle area for so many years, it was just remarkable that they had that. Most of their cousins, I believe all of them, or none of them, had ever left the greater Seattle metropolitan area.
Oh my gosh. So your kids had lots of stories to share.
They had lots of stories. My daughter went to school, I think it was my daughter, and she was introducing themselves as kids will do and are supposed to do during the first day or days of their being in class.
Yes.
And where are you from, Megan? We were at Osan Air Base, Korea. Oh, was that North Korea or South Korea?
Oh.
At which she just kind of
Like, really?
rolled her eyes at the teacher. But
Yeah.
in any event. So now as to, in conclusion, not concluding yet, but my Guimas years began after retiring from the Air Force in '99, immediately thereon, to the property that we purchased with Veronica's family, some of her family members, from Henry Hamill back in 1980.
This up here?
Yeah, right next to Eden Eden Walton? No, not Eden.
Oh, Walden.
Walden.
Edith.
Edith, certainly, yeah,
Okay.
Edith. Right next door to her.
Okay.
Yeah, there
So
was
you
a.
bought it from
From the
Horace?
Hamels.
Yeah.
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 Yeah,
okay.
bought it from the Hamels in 1980. And as it turns out, we were establishing the Monahan Leech homestead of about 28 acres on South Shore Road. And
Wow.
it hadn't been particularly well surveyed, so it was questionable as to how much it really was. I didn't know, they didn't know, so whatever, and that's what it
That's
worked
what you
out to
bought.
be. That's what we bought. Yeah, give me your money and take what you get. So the things that have kept me involved here on Guimas Island are kind of divided between church activities. I started out being an Episcopalian on the island. My wife Veronica is a Roman Catholic, but I was a member of Christ Church, the Episcopal Church here in town.
Okay.
And I'd mentioned my father was an Episcopal priest, so that carries through. And the college was an Episcopal school, so yeah, it made sense.
Yeah.
I was there and was variously involved during that period of time with the Episcopal Church as a member of the vestry, as a lector, Eucharistic minister, and the treasurer. Additionally, was elected to the diocesan council, the Diocese of Seattle, and down in Seattle. And I even completed
This is your retirement, right?
This is my retirement. Completed a 4-year program with the University of the South, the seminary, not for continuous 5 days a week, but once a week. A program that basically followed the syllabus of the seminary. And so I did that for 4 years, completed that program called Education for Ministry, whereupon, shortly thereafter, I left the Episcopal Church. Yes.
Oh.
And joined Veronica, who, as I said, had been a lifetime Roman Catholic. And I joined the Catholic Church over at St. Mary's,
St. Mary's.
in Anacortes. For 7 years then, I served on the pastoral council, not much unlike being a vestryman.
Yeah.
But there are differences, but I won't belabor that at this point. Did that for 7 years, 3 of which were as the chair of the pastoral council. So,
You have leadership in your blood.
well, I just couldn't stop it, so. And then my involvement there, again, included lector, Eucharistic minister, and a position called sacristan, which is the guy or gal who sets things up on Sundays and so forth,
Okay.
for the various masses. But I was also volunteering with an organization called the Navy Marine Corps Relief Society. My daughter-in-law, married to my son, the sailor, called me one day and said, "Dad, what are you doing in retirement that's worthwhile?"
Well, I've got a list here.
What are you talking about? Yeah. And I told her. And she said, "Well, you really ought to volunteer with the Navy Marine Corps Relief Society. I think you'd like it." So I did. I volunteered with them for a number of years down at the Naval Air Station, Oak Harbor. Great organization, works with sailors, Marines, active and retired, helping them with their financial issues. And it's not unusual for sailors and other people to
Yeah.
have financial problems and
Help
challenges.
sorting things out.
Yeah, and so I did that for a number of years as a volunteer. And then the opportunity presented itself to be paid staff, and I became director of the NMCRS office down at Naval Station Oak Harbor, or Naval Station Everett,
Okay,
down the road.
sure.
Yeah, and so I did that for 10 years and said, I'm going to do this for 10 years, and that's going to be enough. I'm 76, by the way, and so I did that for 10 years, retired, I think a week or two after the 10-year mark.
You did what you said.
I said, I
Your
did what I
commitment.
said I was going to
Yeah.
do, yeah. And then continued to volunteer for a number of years with the organization over at
Oak Harbor.
Oak Harbor. Did that, continued until there was a period of time when I had some ill health. And so that kind of took me out of the picture for a while. I am much improved, except my memory is not quite as crystal clear as it once was. But a heck of a lot better than it was.
You're good to me.
Yeah, so in any event, doing that. And so then as to my community involvement here on Guimas Island, and I'll wrap it up on that.
Okay.
Started, probably in the late 20-teens, and that's when I was elected as a commissioner, still serving the position as Guimas Island Cemetery District Commissioner.
Oh, that's interesting.
Okay. Meeting tonight, okay?
By the way.
By the way. And then also in the early 2020s as a member of the Guimas Island Ferry Committee.
Oh, boy.
Not,
It's a challenge.
it is. Not perhaps what it was. Part of the challenge of those folks who are on the Ferry Committee is working with the county. And the county is not overly enthusiastic about
Working with you.
working with us. Yeah, and
Right.
that's sadly true. So that's kind of a quick recap of me and what I've done.
Andy, you're an amazing man.
It was a great deal of fun, continues to be.
I know you. There's just never know a dull moment, do you?
No, there was nothing dull about it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, you stepped in. Whew. Yeah, I think more people need to know about you. Maybe because you've always, to me, you seem under the radar, but you're not under the radar.
I have not been under. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's
Well, I think that's very generous of you working with the cemetery. I mean, that's time consuming.
it can be, and it's I think it's an important thing
Oh
to
yeah.
do.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's a special. I mean, yeah.
We it's here to serve all the people on the island, and eventually, many people who are on the island will
End up there.
be there. Be there. Not a bad place to be if you have to be somewhere.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And I applaud you for taking a position on the Ferry Committee.
Well, I'll be honest with you. Edith came over one day and said, this was after I had,
You want me to turn this off? Is this?
yeah, we'll go ahead and turn that piece off.
Okay. So I just want to say thank you so much for sharing your story. You're an amazing man.
Well, thank you, Dawn.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd like to hear your story sometime.
Okay, well, one of these days I'll be doing this, I
All right,
guess.
good.
But I don't know that I'm going to have that many interesting stories. I mean, Berlin.
Yeah, it was neat.
Okay, here you go. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.